Good morning, YouTubes, and welcome back to Infinite Roleplay. My name is Nelson, your totally immersed power gamer. And this morning, I would like to do a first impressions of Fantasy Age. Recently got the PDF, finished reading it through, and I have a few points I would like to discuss. Chris from Dropped Dice already did his review, and he made some good points, and I figured, I'd punctuate that with a few of my own. Now, reading over Fantasy Age and taking it for what it is in and of itself without doing any comparisons to any pre-existing game systems. It is not streamlined, but it's simple. It's a system of layered simplicity, such as if you look at character creation, it's one of the things that I do personally. I go first straight to character creation and combat. That's where most systems differ the most. And in Fantasy Age, its layered simplicity is most evident in character creation. For one, they've broken down the entirety of character creation to three core classes. You have your mage class, you have your rogue class, you have your fighter class. And they're very specific into what they can do. Um, but besides the classes, each class, to a certain extent, can affect your stats or how well you do things. So let's rewind it a bit. As in any role-playing game, you have your stats. In Fantasy Age, you have 9 stats. Now, 2 of the stats are accuracy and fighting, which separates your strength and dexterity from your combat ability. Fighting being your melee combat ability, accuracy being more of your ranged combat ability. So you can be cumbersome in every other way, but really know how to shoot your arrows or pistols and whatnot. Or you can be incredibly agile and yet not really know what to do with a bow and arrow, which is great. You can be highly skilled at melee combat without having to be a large brute, or you can be a large brute who relies on pure strength and damage and not be very accurate. I enjoy this. So once you move past your stats, you have the ability to get a background. They have a few backgrounds. Um, Everything initially in Dragon Age is supposed to be rolled randomly, and they have charts that you consult, but they have optional rules where you can have a little bit more control of your customization, or in fact, total control if you feel that you need it. So you go into the backgrounds. The backgrounds have several different tiers as far as social standing, I guess it is. You have your upper class, lower class, middle class, and basically your vagabonds. They're determined randomly, and once that is determined, they each have subcategories for a background. Criminal background, I believe, is somewhere between lower class and vagabond, and so on and so forth. You have to be part of the upper class to be of nobility. It's very interesting. It's very nice. Once you get these backgrounds, they affect your stats and possibly talents. Each background, if I remember correctly, only has 2 options to choose from. You choose one of 2 options, giving you a very limited amount of customization within any one specific thing, but they have multiple things that you can have. You know, I don't have the page open because I'm not ready. Let me scroll up, see if I can find these backgrounds because they have what is it? The vagabond class, vagabond tier, or I don't even know what it's called. Let's see, example, social class. Oh, outsider. Okay, they have the outsider, the lower class, middle class, and upper class. Those are the four social classes that house the possible backgrounds. Now, let's see. One through six, one through six, one through six. Okay. Each of the social classes have six possible backgrounds, which mean you have 24 possibilities as far as your backgrounds go. Each background has two choices you have to make. Well, one choice you have to make between two options. Sorry about that. Which is 48 possible options you can add on to your character, which that's a lot, but it's the layered simplicity of it all. You can only choose, you can only be part of one social class. That social class gives you the availability of one through six backgrounds. Your background only gives you one thing. That one thing has to be chosen between two possible things. It's very simple. It's just constant layering. It's like a layer cake. You know, you have your vanilla, your chocolate, your vanilla, that kind of thing. It's like an Oreo. And Oreos are great. And so is Fantasy Age in that respect. Now, you choose your background, you have to choose your class. Again, they only have three classes. They have the mage, scroll through that, the rogue, and the warrior. Pretty self-explanatory. The stats as well, really self-explanatory. No reason to go into any real details. Strength is strength, dexterity is dexterity, wisdom is wisdom, intelligence is intelligence. There's really no weird labeling of everything. Everything is fairly straightforward. Again, like I said, very simple, very easy to learn, very easy to pick up and get going with it. Um, Looking at creating character, once you choose your class, they have a chart for your level one abilities, your starting talents. Um, like let's say warrior. Starting talents, you become a novice in two of the following talents: archery style, dual weapon style, pole arm style. You have a list of styles that you can choose from. You become a novice in up to two of them. So you can only choose two. Very small, very narrow focus, very simple. And as far as these abilities, there's only three tiers. I believe it's novice, adept, and expert. Each tier bringing something very specific or unlocking something very specific for your character, but there's only three tiers. Very simplistic. So it's very easy to learn. Now you can get into it and start picking it apart, and if you want to power game it, planning out where you want to go and how are you going to layer the simplicity to gain a more complex character. Even if you don't want to power game it, it's good for role players because when you're done with character creation, you have a fair bit of complexity. Like I can be a human, an upper class human who is of noble background, but I am a warrior, possibly a formally trained warrior, being that I am of nobility. Once you have your background, your class, and everything, you roll your starting money. Your starting money is actually dependent on your social class. Upper class getting what seems to be the most starting money, which is randomly determined. Um, you have one thing I enjoy. I'm not going to compare it to other systems specifically, but Defense and armor are separate things. I love that in a role playing game. So, choosing whether you want to be harder to hit or possibly take hits better is a thing. Hit points aren't, hit points aren't separated between non lethal, lethal, points of exhaustion, ability damage. They don't really relegate it to that, so they keep it fairly simple. But I still think it's good. And I'm gonna take some coffee. Mm. Oh, coffee is so great. Anyway, that's pretty much the entire character creation concept. Just layered simplicity. They have charts. The charts are not all over the place. You pick a warrior, and then you look at the talents that you pick. You turn to the page with those talents, and it gives you the specifics. The specifics. I don't know if I said that right. The specifics of what that entails. And they do it in such a stepped process that it doesn't get complex until you look at it at the end and see a fully fleshed out character. Now that we have character creation pretty much out of the way, let's jump to actions. Mostly combat is actions, right? Combat is mostly actions, or most of the mechanical aspects of an RPG are usually relegated to combat. Uh, so you have major. You have major actions. No, major and minor actions. Major and minor actions. There are several different things you can do for major, and several different things you can do as minor actions. You can do two minor actions or one minor and one major. Everything is written down here. It's very clear, it's very concise, not that complicated. You know, a minor action, you can move, you can ready an action, which is which is pretty awesome. As far as people who love combat, I enjoy combat, love combat, and readying an action basically means this turn you spend a minor to hold your major to interrupt an action, right? You can unsheath the weapon. Oh, no, 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 no. Ready. Prepare. Sorry. That's the one I wanted to talk about. Prepare. My mistake. I just finished reading through the book, and I don't have everything committed to memory 100%. We're human. We mess up. Anyway, you pick one major action that you prepare to execute and then end your turn. Anytime until your next turn, you can interrupt another character and take your prepared action immediately. Very clear, very concise. I don't want to compare it to other systems, so I won't. But very clear, very concise. There's no real confusion in that. Uh, the same thing can be said for social encounters. 1 minute. Oh, coffee's great. Now, Chris from Drop Dice said in RPGs, role playing is always the same. Yes, but social encounters aren't always the same. You can do social encounters strictly through role playing, but, pardon me, but Fantasy Age actually supports mechanical social encounters. What I mean by this is that almost everything in Fantasy Age is relegated to an ability roll. So you can do social encounters with ability rolls and do stunts. Stunts, in this respect, as far as my experience, are unique to the age system. When you stunt, it's you get a chart of stunts. You can do magic stunts, social stunts, combat stunts. There's a chart of things you can do as stunts. When you roll your dice and stunt, the number on your stunt die is how many stunt points you have to spend. You can mix and match until you reach the maximum of points allotted to you, such as combat stunts. You can do a rapid reload, immediately reload a missile weapon for one. So if I rolled, uh, say, a 3 on a ranged attack, I could immediately reload a missile weapon as well as knock the enemy prone, which costs 2. So I can add them up or just do a 3-point stunt, which is lightning attack. You can make a second attack against the same enemy or a different one within range or line of sight and so on and so forth. With a range attack, it's not gonna really be too awesome unless you have 2 daggers and you throw one and you're like, okay, I'll throw another one. But you can stun, and I think I'm getting a little bit ranty right now, which I tend to do. But just for instance, I've been chatting on the forums or the Facebook pages. I don't know if you can call them forums, but personally, as an entire system, the mechanics of this entire system, I think are very, very good for entry to intermediate players. Meaning, if if you're not used to role playing, if you're not used to having a great deal of player agency, you can enter in a fantasy age game, and it's very simple to learn. It's very simple to build characters. It's very simple to run. I went through the book, and it looks like almost everything as far as difficulties, traps, hazards, social encounters. Besides the stunt charts, you just 3 charts, 3 numerical charts. The basic test difficulty chart, the advanced test difficulty, hazard category, and attack roll modifiers. Other than that, as a DM, you might need the 3 stunt charts. But it's really easy. And as a player, even as a DM, if you're not used to exploring really the full breadth of the role play experience or improving, creating things on the fly that well, you have the stunt charts to support you. As a player, if you're just coming into role playing games and you don't really understand certain things, certain aspects, and you need the rules to support what you want to do, when you're playing and you roll and you stunt, you look at the chart and you can get an idea of where you can go, where the combat can go, where a social counter can go. One of the social stunts is to flirt. You may not think of flirting with an NPC, but you may stunt, look at the chart and go, oh, I can flirt with it. Sure. And then you can role play, flirting. You can take that player agency and take it in that direction. It supports that. It encourages that. In my opinion, I haven't run Fantasy Age yet. I've only just read the book. But in my opinion, that supports the growth of a player, the growth, the journey into role playing games, tabletop role playing games, and learning the limitlessness of the experience. It helps you along that path, in my personal opinion. So I think it's amazing. Um, Now, as far as the book goes, and we go to the Bestiary, it is really limited Bestiary. Um, it it feels okay. I'm going into comparisons now. Screw it. It feels almost as limited as the D&D Bestiary, the fifth edition Bestiary in the player's manual. It's pretty damn limited. Now I know they have Dragon Age splat books. They have a few Age splat books available in PDF format on Drive Through RPG. I have not got them. I'm not going to talk about them because I don't know what's in them. Uh, just the Fantasy Age book, and it's pretty small. They go so far as to actually lump certain categories together. Like one of the creatures, I should use creatures loosely, but let me go all the way down to the bestiary. If I can find the bestiary, major minor NPCs, handling hazards, adversaries. Yes, they're adversaries. Let's go to where's the bandit? Bandit adversary. Give me a second. Okay, bandits. They lump three basic things into bandits. Bandits are mercenaries, robbers, thugs. So instead of having something separate like a mercenary stat line, a robber stat line, a thug or a highwayman as a separate stat line, they have everything lumped into a single category. Now, some people might see this and so limited. Why do I have to, you know, I wanted a different guy, different this. You can customize it because it's simple. They have their simplistic stat line, their basic speed, health, defense, and armor. They have three listed weapons with their attack rolls and damage they deal. They have special qualities such as their favored stunts. So if your NPC gets the stunt, they suggest the type of stunts that this particular adversary would normally do. They have their talents, their weapon groups, their equipment. Um, it's not that detailed, right? They don't have, like I said, a separate um, entry for mercenary, for robbers, for thugs. There's no distinction between, you know, um, a dwarven mercenary, an orc thug, and a half elf highwayman, for instance. Not to say you can't have those. That's all in your ability as a DM just to reskin things. Um, the very next entry is a demon soldier. Fiends, infernals, and devils. In games such as D&D, they're entirely separate entries. There's entire there's a whole list of fiends. There's a whole list of devils. And that's where this one seems to fall a bit short as far as having a full breadth of enemies in a single bestiary. Now, technically, this is not officially released. It's still on pre-order. You can get the PDF right now if you do the pre-order for the book. Um, Also, I believe on Drive Through RPG, the PDF is available. It says pre-order, but you can get the PDF right now. You can pay for it, you can download it, you can read it, you can run it. The bestiary is not that great. There's a few customization options which are nice, but going back to comparing something like 13th Age, which is a D20 system, not an adventure game engine system, the bestiary in 13th Age has a complete section with charts for custom making enemies and suggested powers for specific player character levels, as well as a whole slew of options. Where in this initial book of Fantasy Age, they do not have that. As a matter of fact, most RPGs they don't have that in bestiaries like in 13th Age. I feel 13th Age is very unique in that way. But they don't skimp. Let's go to the end. In the beginning of the adversaries section of Fantasy Age, They have suggested options for creating elite NPCs, epic NPCs, for taking something already listed in the adversary, such as the bandit, and making elite bandits, making legendary bandits, making them a little bit more difficult to deal with. At the very end of the adversaries section, they have special powers that you can tag on to the pre-existing adversaries to give them a little bit more customization, such as armored, mighty, regenerate, shadow, vulnerability, and winged. Uh, magic resistant, blending, aquatic, agile. There's not that many options here, but the way the system is built, the simplicity of the system lends itself to a lot of customization. And I can only imagine with the splat books that they will come out for this and porting over some Dragon Age stuff that already exists, the variety you can get, the possibilities are there. Shows a lot of promise. So let's just say we take the basic bandit and give the basic bandit the special power of regenerate. You have maybe a young troll-blooded bandit if you want, or take the basic bandit for a nice small, just you know, crappy enemy to throw at them, and make them mighty. The monster is exceptionally strong for its type. It has +2 strength and the might focus. So you have a mighty bandit, right? Basic bandit with the mighty special power. You now have a mighty bandit. Bandit. So you can throw 3 or 4 regular bandits and have one of the bandits be mighty. And that's that really big dude with all the hulking muscles and veins popping through. It's like, go get him. I'm going to crush you. You know, that's that small, simple little change helps to support, like I said before, that sort of expansion into role play. You know, if you have 20, 30 years experience playing role playing games, you're not going to need a system to encourage you. But for entry level to intermediate level uh, people, getting into the system and searching to expand and practice more, it's very, very supportive, such as having a mighty bandit. Well, your bandit's mighty. I mean, how much more self-explanatory can it get, right? Maybe your bandit has a vulnerability. Uh, well, let's give it the vulnerability of light, sunlight, or something, bust or silver, right? Vulnerability silver. You now have some pseudo lycanthropic bandits. I know it's weird, just saying. You could have winged bandits. If you're a D&D person and you want to throw Aarakocra in your game, a winged bandit. Simple. It's just an Aarakocra. It has wings. It flies. Just take the stats and skin it. It's very, very simple. And like I said, it's supportive to learning and growing. Um, you know, with their talents and foci system, a lot of the magic items seem to much like much like the cipher system, Numenera, um, even Fate, they take that basic core and just apply it pretty much to their magic. As far as that's how it seems to me right now. You know, potion. Let's see, potion of might. Consume this spicy elixir with an active action and feel power thundering through your veins. You gain a +2 bonus to damage with all melee attacks for 1 minute after drinking the potion. It is really simple. Really simple. Alchemy, terribly simple too. You want to make an alchemic potion? Are you a novice? Well, you have access to 2 types of alchemic potions. Are you adept? You have access to 2 more for a total of 4 different alchemical potions. Are you a master alchemist? Well, there are only 6 different alchemical potions in the game which you have access to do. You can do them all as a master. It takes 1 hour to make an alchemical potion, and you have to roll a DC, a target number. And that's it. Ugh, so simple, so easy. I love it. This looks like it's going to be a really fun system to run, really fun system to play. My biggest, biggest gripe with this system is how they handle magic, because I love playing mages, and now they have a ton of different arcana. For doing magic, you have to choose an arcana. An arcana is basically, it's like a school of magic, and each arcana or school of magic is, as every other sort of talent, divided up into 3 sections: novice, adept, and master. Being a novice in one gives you access to 2 spells. Being adept in that school gives you access to 1 more spell, and gives you a focus. And being a master gives you access to the last spell and makes it easier to stunt one specific stunt with spells in that foci, in that arcana. So effectively, each school of magic only has 4 different spells. So unlike some other systems that allow you a whole sort of access to everything, it's very step by step. As you level up, you can have the choice of opening up to more schools of magic, but just that initial sort of limitation just feels it, I'm confused about it. I can understand from the standpoint of simplicity, of learning a game, of making magic both easy to do and giving the player the ability to expand into a whole world of magic later on is great. But myself understanding how a lot of magic systems work, being able to look at all these different spells and just customize. When I'm making a level 1 character, I like to have all those options and mix and match, you know, um, to have someone who can cast ice, fire, psychic, all in one nice and tidy selection is a great. I love it. I absolutely love it. But in fantasy age, you can choose between 2 schools. Each school gives you 2 spells. So you can start off with 4 spells. It's not that different from, say, uh, Savage Worlds. You don't start off with a lot of spells and a lot of the different schools that they can do. Um, Dungeons and Dragons, you don't start off with a lot of spells. Either um, Numenera, you don't start off with a lot of spells either. It's just that in those other systems, the illusion of choice is there. It makes you feel like you have a lot more choices. Personally, for me, taking it for what it's worth, they stick to that layered simplicity. There's a there is a ton of different schools, a ton of different schools. There's there's divination, fire, ice, lightning, shadow. There's power, which is pure magic. Uh, what else? There's a lot. Plant, I think it is a different shadow arcana, water arcana. Power Arcana, Lightning Arcana, Heroic Arcana, Healing Arcana, Fire Arcana, Fate Arcana, the ability to see into the future and stuff, Earth Arcana, Divination Arcana. There's a lot of different Arcanas. Each one only has 3 tiers with a possibility of 4 total spells. So each Arcana is very simple, very limited. They just have a lot of Arcanas. So I get the complexity and the choices in the broad spectrum. But I don't know. I'm just being a pain in the butt about it. Is what I am. Because this is not really a review. It's more of my first impression. If I were to actually review the spell system, I think I would give it, thumbs up because it makes it really easy to have a laser focus on what you want to do. If I want to be an air sorcerer, say I want to take storms, I want to have a storm mage, I'd just take the air arcana and the lightning arcana. I mean, it makes sense. Um, Healing, if I want to be a cleric type, they have a healing arcana. You could take healing and divination, or healing and fate. You know, you want to represent something like Palor, possibly healing and fire. Uh, you want to be a really supportive, healing and heroic, or power and shadow might be interesting. You know, forest, wood, wood arcana. Oh, I could chat about these. Um, so let's stop the rant and go in summary because this is probably long. How long have I been ranting for? Good God, I don't even know. Uh, so in summary, Fantasy Age is a fantastic system for entry to intermediate play. If you feel that you are an advanced role playing gamer, you can still sink your teeth into the Fantasy Age system. It supports player agency. They have a multitude of things that you can do, and it's all about layered simplicity. Don't think that the complexity is not there, it's just a layer upon layer of simplistic things. It's very easy to learn, very easy to show someone how to play, and very easy to customize. I can see that once this system is released, once they start releasing more of their splat books, such as the Titan's Grave, um, and even utilizing things from Dragon Age. I don't currently have Dragon Age or any of the things for Dragon Age, but I can see how it would be pretty easy to port things over to expand your options and expand customization. But as I said earlier, as far as backgrounds, there's 24 different possibilities of backgrounds. So 24 different backgrounds you can take. That's a lot of choices. That's a lot of possibilities. That's a lot of customization. It's just the way that they handle it is simple, almost elegant. Um, Hopefully, I'll dig through the system a few more times. Maybe I'll come up with a more critical review. Maybe I'll just wait to run something before I have a critical review because I really want to run something. I'm so excited about this system. I almost want to run something later today. So, until next time, people, my name is Nelson. I've been your totally immersed power gamer, and this has been Infinite Roleplay. I hope that I helped uh, with your choice on whether or not you want to purchase or play Fantasy Age. Until next time, peace.